Tell me what to do.
I don't know what to do.
Tell me how I should be.
We are all Ryan Gosling in Blue Valentine. Blue Valentine, the story of a failed relationship. As this brutally honest tale of a modern 21st century relationship takes place between 2010 and flashbacks of 5 years prior, we see the inception and destruction of a doomed romance.
Isn't there something else you want to do?
What does that mean, potential?
From the flashback scenes, it's revealed Michelle Williams' character was a medical student from a dysfunctional family who was shagging TJ, the jock, and Ryan Gosling's was a dreamy lost high school dropout from a broken home, working a dead-end furniture removal job with a misguided notion of romance. From the contemporary scenes, it's revealed they now have a daughter together. He's content with being a part-time painter and stay-at-home dad. She, however, is working in the medical sphere as a nurse. But most importantly, she can't stand his ass.
Come on, Dean, I don't need to clean up after 2 kids.
So how did it come to this? Well, first off, she has a history of promiscuity.
At what age were you when you first had intercourse? 15.
He seemingly is a codependent older millennial who grew up in the 90s with the unambitious have a good time youth culture.
I'm not getting it.
Friday morning, it starts all over again. Dancing, drinking, and smoking dope.
You see all the people having fun? What you do at school, man? Well, honestly, that's
Combined with simping culture.
I just ran out with that other fella. Baby, I knew about it. I just didn't care.
A great recipe for this couple raising a daughter that isn't biologically Gosling's, but in fact Ziggy athleticism's. The jock she was shagging before Gosling. When Gosling first laid eyes on Williams, he caught a case of one-itis and travelled back to the geographic spot he first saw her. A behavioural pattern that was somewhat plausible in the 90s, when mobile phones and the internet weren't quite yet ubiquitous. But by the mid-2000s, no longer made sense.
Camera phone, the autograph of the 21st century.
The mid-2000s were a completely different beast from the mid-90s. The 90s was the last time culture was really shared communally, so therefore it was still plausible to have more in-person spontaneity.
You think I could sit down because all these other seats are taken?
Okay.
Thanks.
Williams entertained Gosling's advances as she was on the rebound from Mr. Captain of the wrestling team. He viewed her as the salvation to his dead-end life. She allowed him a platform to make a prat out of himself with his mandolin or mini guitar or I don't know what. You see, he's a young man at this point in the mid-2000s with the preconceived 90s and early 2000s notion of how to catch a woman's heart through being real and theatrical. Acting like he's Gene Kelly, farting around, singing and dancing in the street. In his mind, the be-all and end-all to a courting process that will lead to eternal true love. Bruv, get real innit? Brrr, brrr. Unfortunately, he's entertaining her momentary inner child as she seeks escapism from her unplanned pregnancy dilemma. Here's the thing, folks. When a woman fucks up, if she's young and relatively attractive, there's always a simp queuing up to have his chance and thus save her ass. Basically, when women fuck up, there's an external rescue option. When men fuck up, more often than not, we're fucked, period. Unless we have sufficient male self-survival skills. When he finds out she's pregnant with another man's seed, fair enough he goes nuclear and beats up the Brooklyn Bridge. Straight estrogen energy. But then still continues the relationship like a codependent. When she says she can't go through with the abortion due to whatever reason, he says, through thick and thin, I'll be there for you and raise a child that isn't mine. Worst of all, he has no idea he's a simp or a Captain Save-A-Ho. Thus, he saves her due to his innate need to win female validation, due to his naivety, due to his desperation and loneliness, which emanate from his unresolved mummy issues. He comes from a broken home, with a mother who ran out on him as a child, and a menial janitor father. In other words, he's desperate for female validation. In non-narrative allegorical terms, he represents a generation of beta males raised by alpha females.
Tell me what to do.
I don't know what to do.
Tell me how I should be.
An ambitious, promiscuous girl with daddy issues, rescued by a hopeless codependent from a broken home. Programmed for failure from the very start.
Men are more romantic than women. They spend their whole life looking for Prince Charming, and then they marry the guy that's got a good job and he's gonna stick around.
You see, he can grasp the true nature of the real world, but being a hope strategist rather than an empiricist is a far more easy, comforting path for someone to take who grew up in the 90s. In the 90s, you didn't need to think about ambition when you could be the man as a teenager and go to under 18 clubs and pool girls and live your best life. Our generation, the Generation X millennial cusps, the Xennials. We've been going raving since we were 13. Kids like Ryan Gosling's character that were programmed and striving for failure, got mentally stunted and never grew out of that 90s mindset. The malignant egalitarianism of TV shows and movies tells people you're just as valuable as the competitive trust fund jock, so you deserve the same. There is no deserve. You either inherit, earn, or steal. There is no deserve in this life. Gosling believes she'll stay with him long term on the strength of the short term because he's a quote unquote good person. Haha, just be yourself. This isn't the 50s where you could coast on your looks and personality and then go to your factory job in your factory town or your mining job in your mining town and maintain a woman long term. She'll stay if it benefits her, not if you're a good person. This isn't the OC. If, socio-economically, you're the kid from Chino, what the malignant egalitarianism undertone of the OC tells you is that you deserve the same as the elite. What it doesn't tell you is realistically, if you come from deprivation, you're gonna have to work 10 times harder if you want the same fruits of life as the jock. Gosling tries to build a castle of love and eternal monogamy on a foundation of quicksand. You see, when the foundation of a relationship is bullcrap, guess what? Post-honeymoon period, you'll end up with a bullcrap relationship.
Fuck you. Yeah, I'm more man than you are, you fucking I'm pregnant.
Is it mine?
Maybe.
Maybe?
Probably not.
He only continued and furthered the relationship when she said she was pregnant with somebody else's kid to reverse the sense of rejection or prevent the rejection. It's like John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever.
You're not my dream girl, nothing like that.
A horny 19-year-old who can have most of the 18-year-old girls in the club.
Are you as good in bed as you are on that dance floor?
But he wants the 22-year-old social climber chick who isn't into him like that.
I'm moving into Manhattan. I'm getting my own apartment. I don't think guys like you anymore, for one thing. You're too young, you haven't got any class.
He only stays around for the inevitable friend zoning and emasculation.
Stop it! Let me alone, man! Using you, making you think that I love you, it's just all bullshit, man.
Due to a misplaced notion of reversing the sense of rejection, which just reinforces itself. That's how dudes get friend zoned all the time. Put up with dog crap to avoid rejection.
I'm pregnant.
Which inevitably you get anyway. You're just postponing the inevitable discard. Gosling was competing with the jock's, pardon me for saying, romantic leftovers. That's who she really wanted, was the jock. All Gosling could do is simp. He thinks being nice and or romantic is the answer to every problem in the relationship. We'll just go to the stupid Jean-Luc Picard future room and quote unquote make love.
Oh, and there's a future room. Let's go get drunk and make love.
A subconscious reference to Dana Troy, perhaps.
Cast off your inhibitions and embrace love.
She's no longer in love with you, she just quote unquote has love for you.
I'm so out of love with you.
We've all heard that repulsive line of condescension, haven't we? She tries to use the Jean-Luc Picard chamber to have a serious conversation about him turning his life around, and he pretends he doesn't know what potential means.
I could still do whatever I could do. What does even potential mean? What does that mean, potential? Potential for what?
She's frustrated at him and wants rough sex.
That's how you want it?
The fact that she just ran into the jock and biological father after all these years,
That's crazy.
is trying to look sexy chewing his gum, adds to her frustration with hopeless ass Gosling.
What are you doing? Why are you doing that?
To mitigate her overall frustration with Gosling, she wants rough sex, otherwise known as the cornflake sex.
I can't fucking do it like this. Stop it.
To put some context on it, a friend of mine back in school in the late 90s was of Pakistani origin and masquerading as a light-skinned black man. I shaved my head bald so I look half Kastana. He pulled a Greek girl who was only into black men but told her he was light-skinned Caribbean. I pulled the Greek girl with gel hair, she had zigzag parting, Anna. Zigzag parting. She only wanted black man, but when she saw me, she thought I was like light skin or something like that. I fucked her at her house, then the next morning I was just eating my cereal and stuff, like I fucked her last night, and she said, you bastard, how dare you sit there and eat cornflakes when this hot piece of ass is in front of you. She threw the cornflakes at me. I said, you fucking bitch. I pulled her over the table. I fucked her from behind hard and choked her. Then I pulled the cornflakes over her head. I poured the Cocoa Pops, Anna. Hence, rough sex. Hence, the cornflake sex. This Greek girl in focus was frustrated my good buddy wasn't a real black man. She could subconsciously sense he's maybe Pakistani despite the shaved head. Williams is frustrated Gosling isn't a real Chad dude like the Chad. Hence, she's frustrated and wants the cornflake sex. I fucked her from behind hard and choked her. Then I put the cornflakes over her head.
Now I'm gonna do it like this. What do you want me to you?
I want you to stop.
Is that what you want?
Stop
You want me to hit you?
He wants a sensual exchange, a soul-to-soul alliance of celestial lovemaking. All this excessive emphasis on nice guy romance from Gosling with no substance beneath just isn't working at this point in the relationship. Maybe 5 years prior, you could try and stretch this 90s approach to excessive romance into the mid-2000s. But by 2010, it's the social media era. Not quite the gram, but Facebook is now ubiquitous. She's now seeing her ex-med school classmates on Facebook holiday pics in the Bahamas with Dr. Claudio von Munich, the half-German, half-Italian doctor with the good jawline and salt and peppery long wavy hair.
Be careful about what you post on Facebook.
And she's stuck with this balding schlub who just wants to sit around and be a hopeless romantic. There is nothing Gosling could do to salvage the marriage except a friggin' personality transplant. Now I'm gonna juxtapose this utterly dysfunctional relationship with an, in hindsight, more functional dysfunctional relationship, that of Demi Moore and Woody Harrelson in the 1992 film Indecent Proposal. Millionaire businessman Redford offers a meal to shag Moore.
$1 million for one night with your wife.
Then over a period of time, Redford uses a mergers and acquisitions approach to lure Moore away from Harrelson and therefore make her his sugar baby chick. Now before I make the comparison between Harrelson and Gosling in terms of losing their chick, you have to understand Moore and Harrelson were a genuine couple with a solid foundation. They were younger boomer high school sweethearts who had married young, the last generation where a woman would generally marry a man based on potential rather than fulfillment. The whole point of Indecent Proposal allegorically is yes, money can buy love, but can it buy true love? Despite being temporarily broken, Harrelson won her back in the end through what exactly?
I hear you're teaching.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm teaching.
Not by trying to make love when she wants serial sex. Not going to the Starship Enterprise motel, but wait for it, demonstrating ambition. He goes back to community college and starts teaching architecture again. He reminds her what made her fall in love with him in the first place. His ambition, not potential, ambition.
Have I ever told you I love you?
The younger baby boomers, not a generation of corner cutters like millennials. So Williams leaves Idiot to self-destruct in the seedy sci-fi motel room and goes to work where Dr. Doofus tries to use his position to pick up a married woman.
We could hang out together, get dinner sometime.
And bingo, it dawns on her.
I thought you wanted me there because I'm good at my job.
I think I understand. Do you think he was ever giving you special interest on account of your workmanship? Honey, it was always on the strength of your sex and your sexuality. The quintessential beta male simp in waiting, using his resources to acquire Gosling's chick. Gosling, who already has a drinking problem, breaks down in a drunk fit of desperation and punches Dr. Doofus. And that's it. She tells him she has no more love for him and leaves him. He cries and pleads and then eventually accepts his destiny of failure. The real victim now being the daughter. Gosling's issues as a damaged man, he can work on himself. The problem is, the damaged man can become self-aware and learn to gravitate away from the damaged woman, but on some level is always gonna at least identify to an extent with damaged women. Example, Michael Douglas in Basic Instinct. He knows perfectly well Sharon Stone is no good, but as a damaged man with a history of drug abuse and abuse of the San Francisco Police Department badge,
looks like civic-minded, very respectable cocaine.
when he's being pollinated with sexuality and sensuality, and dare I say almost masculine femininity.
Do you have a cigarette?
I don't smoke.
Would you like one?
I told you I quit.
Would you like a cigarette now?
Eventually, he gives in to his better judgment and becomes obsessed with the woman he knows full well is a bastard. Allegorically, Basic Instinct's message is, if you're an older and experienced but damaged man, you can still fall for someone you know beneath the surface is evil.
Raised rugrats, live happily ever after.
He's not simping like Gosling. If Stone said to him, be a dad to another man's kid, he'd tell her to kick rocks. When Douglas eats out Stone, it's a celebration of femininity. When Gosling eats out Williams, it's codependency and proverbially he's sucking her dick. In summary, avoiding toxic women is no easy job, but Gosling's naivety led him to see red flags, but lie to himself and say we're both fucked up, so we should be together. Don't ever be like Joaquin Phoenix in Two Lovers.
I'm completely fucked up.
You think if I got to know you that I wouldn't love you, but I do know you, and I love you even more. I understand you, Michelle. I'm fucked up too.
We're fucked up, so we should be together. For a hot minute, the chick will entertain the emotional relatability, then triangulate the living daylights out of you with the corporate guy. Real shit. Girls will entertain the challenge of fixing the brooding bad boy, but eventually and inevitably it dawns on them the fucked up guy is in fact a fuck up. Blue Valentine is essentially a warning to damaged millennial males how not to be with a woman in a relationship.
Tell me what to do.
I don't know what to do.
Tell me how I should be.
Hey, leave her alone.
You see, those of us from Dean's generation with similar backgrounds, he represents all of us. We are all Dean. We are rock stars whose music won't get played. We are rock stars who can't get laid. We are unmanaged men. We are damaged men. We are choosy men without the options. From the beginning, we were emotionally up for adoption. Were we ever real men? Then tell us when. We have no Michelle Pfeiffer to save us from our dangerous minds.
That is a choice. There are no victims in this classroom.
We are without purpose and running out of time. We are all Ryan Gosling in Blue Valentine.